Welcome, welcome, welcome. Can everybody hear me clearly? Give me a thumbs up. We're in the virtual space. Awesome, awesome. I'm going to end the poll and we can end that poll, Simone. So excited for you to be here. We're going to start right on time. And I promise you that we are also going to end right on time. We are going to honor the time that we've put aside for this moment. So I'm going to share the results with those that participated so you can have a really quick snapshot at the results of the first poll. How many times have you changed your career? Almost just under 90% have changed their careers 1 to 3 times. And we've had 11%, 4 to 6 times, and 3% more than 7 times. So panelists, take a note of that. You may want to get your phone up and take a screenshot. Are you looking to make a career shift in the next 12 months? 71% said yes. 71% said yes. Good data. I'm all for data. I love data. All right. So we can end that. If we can end that, Simone, that would be great. All right, I'm just going to exit. All right, so I'm going to start sharing the screen right away. We're going to jump right into it, and we are going to get started. Okay. Now, the first question I always ask is, are you seeing the correct side of the screen? No notes or anything like that. Awesome. All right. We always have to verify all of this data before we get started. So first of all, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone that's on this line. We did a quick check of the people that are signing up and where they're signing from. And Malika, to a question we had during the prep session, where are people logging in from? We have South Africa, we have Bermuda, we have the US, we have across Canada as well. And of course, we have London and throughout the UK. So we have quite a global representation, which tells us that we've actually selected the correct topic that is of interest to many people. And as well, we have people across different age category. So hopefully, as we go through these questions, we'll be able to address them as it relates to what stage you are in your career journey. But welcome, welcome, welcome to the first huddle of 2024, career shifting, not just anyhow, but with confidence. So for those who have never been a part of the Huddle or wonder what exactly is the Huddle is a career platform that supports professionals working in today's modern multi-generational workplace. And we're really excited to have you here. We started this platform only a couple of years ago. They're quarterly webinars that tend to address trending issues or areas of interest for the working professional. So for those that have not met me, my name is Lorene Phillips, and I'm the founder and CEO of Clarendon Wallace, which is a corporate executive and consulting firm that is based here in Bermuda, but we do work all across the world. And I'm really excited to be leading and hosting the Huddle, which is under the umbrella of Clarendon Wallace. And we just get an opportunity to interact with many, many people like yourself, and to also hang out with some younger folks. I'm looking at Kiara right now, with some younger folks that really helps us to stay current, to stay grounded, and also to really understand what the needs are of our changing and forever multi-generational workplace. We have like 5 or 6 generations that are working together in the workplace, and we all have to find a way to get along. So we're just so excited to have you here, and we are going to just get started. So I want you to clear your schedule. I want you to put your phone on silence. I've done that already. Any distractions, any dogs or kids or emails or social media you need to take care of, spouses who may be calling. My husband called just early about something, and I said, I'm busy. I'm getting ready for the huddle. Okay, so whatever you need to do to make sure that you're focused for this time, I want you to do that. Get a piece of paper and pen. If not, use the notes section of your iPhone or whatever device that you have. and take some notes, because we plan on sharing with you some information that will be truly beneficial to you as and when you decide to make that decision to shift in your career. So take a deep breath. And this goes for me, this goes for Kiera, for Malika, and for Victoria, and for everyone else that is on this call. I want you to take a breath, because what we're going to talk about today is going to take a lot of courage. It's going to take a lot of support. It's going to take opening up yourself up to the possibility of what can happen for you this year and perhaps the next. And for those that may be dreaming about doing something different and are not sure what that thing is, I want you to reflect on that. Think about where you want to be this time next year. What would you like to do differently next time this year? What is your desire for yourself? Maybe you're in a job that you enjoy, but it's not really fulfilling you. What's possible? What vision do you have for your life, for your career? What role does your career play in your life right now? Is it reflecting those goals and those values that are important to you? Is it in the right order? Are you well while working? What needs to change? What needs to shift for you? I want you to write that down. And I believe if you don't know what you're aiming for, you're going to miss it every single time. So here's the question that I'm going to ask. I want you to write down one thing, just one thing that you would like to accomplish by the end of our time together. Just one thing. And I'm going to write it down for myself as well. Okay? Okay? That one thing. That's for you, no one else. Because I believe you're showing up to this session for you. You know, when people say to me, oh, when I was in the corporate world, oh, don't take it too personally. It's business. I was like, no, it is personal. My career is personal. It belongs to me. Okay. So I want you to be the CEO of your career. I want you to write down that one thing that you want to accomplish by the end of this time together today that will set you up to achieve that thing that you desire to accomplish next year around this time. And I'm going to do a check-in at the end. If you don't write it down, it's not going to happen. If anyone's wondering, I chose the beach because I live like 5 minutes from the beach. It's my happy place. It's where I am grounded. It's where I solve the world's problem. I love the beach. And this one looks very, very much like the one that's close to my home. So this is why we're here. We are here to talk about how do you go about shifting your career in a way that really sets you up to succeed, right? And to do it confidently. And confidence comes from competence, okay? The more competent you are, the more confident you become. The more confident you become, the more courageous you become in terms of taking chances and making those bold moves. We cannot do this by ourselves, so a big thank you to the Kitsa Group of companies that have sponsored the Huddle for 2024. We're excited to have them on board to support the work that we do. And so now this is time for me to introduce the amazing panel that I have managed to pull together from my network. I've like pulled and pulled. When I was thinking about this topic, I'm thinking, who do I know that is not just interested in this subject, but I know that is as passionate about it as I am? Every day or in some way, whether that be an email, something through LinkedIn, or a bump into someone on the street, I get certain questions all the time, and I can talk about this all day. So I thought, who do I have in my network that I know would be as passionate about sharing information that not just people like to have, but need to have, and do it in an honest and vulnerable way, because we've experienced it and we want to make your experience a little better. So to help me to get this conversation going and to get this wonderful information out to you, I have a panel line up here. And so I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves individually. And we're going to start off with Malika, and I'll have her bio up so you can read that for yourself. But Malika, can you introduce yourself to the group?
Sure. Thank you, Lorene and the Huddle for having me on today. As you can see, Malika Taylor, I am Managing Director at Expertise. We are both a Bermuda-based and Cayman-based organization, primarily supporting people with their human resource needs. And falling under human resources is the very exciting area of recruitment. And so that's the background from which I come to this conversation today. And I'm looking forward to sharing some useful nuggets. Thanks, Lorene.
Oh, it's a pleasure having you, and thanks so much for being here. Next, we have Miss Kiera Rogers. Hi, Kiera.
Hi, Aunt Lorraine. It still doesn't feel weird. It just feels weird to call you Lorraine.
I've known her
I've known
forever.
you since nursery, so it's Aunt Lorraine. My name is Kiara Rogers. I work at Orbis. Orbis is an investment management business, and I'm on the compliance team. But maybe particularly relevant to this conversation is I have a landscape architecture degree. And yeah, completely shifted 180 out of that career direction into this one, which I'm now on. So yeah, I'm just excited. I remember what it was like to think about shifting careers and just how daunting it is. So yeah, no, excited to talk about it a bit more.
Thank you so much. And, we could not really cover this topic without having the younger generation on board. So Kiera is more like, I call her the Zillennial. So they're like Gen Zs, but they're like the end of millennials. So some days they behave like millennials, and then most of the times they behave like Gen Z. So they're right there on the cusp, and so excited to have you and to hear your perspective as well, and to talk a little bit about that huge shift that you make from one discipline to another. So thank you for being here. Victoria.
Thank you, Lorene. I am delighted to be here. I'm hoping I know quite a few on here, so I'm just going to give a shout out to my BFIS seekers. But I am on the board of the Bermuda Foundation for Insurance Studies, and we created a seekers network, especially for career shifters. I would say I've done job shifting. So I started out with a geography degree in claims following Hurricane Fabian in Bermuda back in 2003, and then switched into broking, switched into underwriting, and I'm continuing in underwriting at Allied World Re, where I am at the moment. And so I guess over my career, I've seen that personal and professional growth, which has enabled me to make those shifts. But I've also sat on the board of the Bermuda Under 40s and the CPC Society.
I've known Victoria for a long time, and one of the things I love about Victoria is her energy, and she's completely sold out to helping any young person, anyone that is interested in talking about the industry and finding a way to get in. She's always open to help with CVs, and I love her honesty. Above all, I love her honesty and her passion, and I'm so delighted to have you here with us. And as we get ready to talk about this topic, I'm so looking forward to hear what each one of you have to share. All right. So according to studies, the average person changes their career between 5 to 7 times during the lifetime of their career journey. So if we look at the stats that we've just seen, right? I think typically it was 1 to 3 years. Well, it's 5 to 7. So for those that are typically 1 to 3 that's on this call, you have some more change inside of you to take. You have like another 2 or so in your career that you can level up to the average. But for those that have made more than 5 changes and wondering, oh my gosh, I keep changing jobs, you're fine. You're in the normal category. We also know that the older you get, and it makes sense, the less changes you're likely to make, right? So most of the job changes tend to occur in the early to almost to the midsection of your career journey. So we're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to start off with Malika. She's in the middle of my screen, so I'm constantly looking at her. So Malika, the first question is, can you make it as plain as can be, the difference between a career change or a career shift versus a job change? I'm
Sure.
gonna stop sharing screen.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, let's break down the difference between a job and a career. And really a job, some might say, is something that you do to earn an income, okay? So simple as that. If you're changing jobs, oftentimes part of the kind of impetus is you want to earn more money. When it comes to what a career is really something that you're looking at from a long-term interest. So, you know, what is something that I want to build upon? What is something that I have a passion for? What is something that I want to work on every single day? So when we're talking about career shifting, it's really for, you know, individuals who recognize, you know what, I have a passion that is not being fulfilled any longer in the role or career that I am now. I want to pursue something that I can hook my teeth into for the long term and feel passionate about it.
Thank
So I would
you.
say that's the difference.
Yes, yes. And I'm so glad you are just making that clear. Because sometimes, you know, some people say, oh, I need a career change, but it could be, Malika, that they're bored in their job. They may not need a change. They may need to have a conversation with their boss around what needs to happen to make their job more engaging. Or sometimes they just need to look for maybe lateral opportunities within their organization that can tap into new skill sets that they have, right? Or that they have developed. So sometimes it may not be that you need a full-blown career change or shifting, a complete shift, but you may need to reposition yourself in a way in your existing organization, or start having those what I call courageous conversations with your leader or your boss around what it is that you want in terms of getting your career to move forward.
Well, you know what, Lorene, I
Mhm.
would say, and over the last 20 years of my career in the executive search space, before having that courageous conversation with your boss, you need to have that courageous conversation with yourself. The number of individuals who I work with, as well as, you know, the team of recruiters here, who come to us and say, I'm really not happy with what I'm doing. I need a new job. I need a career shift. The first question I usually ask them is, well, what do you enjoy about what you're doing now? What do you think your superpower is? And until you're able to answer that question, whatever is not making you feel happy about what you're doing now, that's going to follow you to that next job or next career.
You're absolutely right. And I'm in full confession, I'm a Gen Xer. And this is what we were told, Malika. Get good grades, get a good degree, and get a good job.
Yeah.
Nowhere in
Don't
that
leave that
was,
job and don't leave that job.
and don't leave that job. You
Yeah.
stay right there the whole time. And nobody really qualified what good job was. But the understanding was it paid you a good salary so you can become independent and start your life. Nowhere in that equation was pursuing your passion, finding what it is that you really, really, really love to do. You know, not everyone wants to be lawyer, doctor, you know, teacher, whatever those categories are. There are so many other career choices that you can consider. And I must admit as well that I am really fascinated by the younger generation, Malika, and how they are embracing and they're doing that self-reflection and that inner work to find out what it is that they really love and what they're good at. Mind you, there is a balance that we have to strike, because you can't spend your entire life trying to find out what your passion is. You know, sometimes you just have to put yourself out there, and by being out there, you start to grow and evolve and start to really hone those skills and really start to tease out maybe not just what you like, but what you don't like can be a big part of the experience as well. Because that was mine. I found out what I did not like to do, and that helped me to narrow down what it is I really, really like to do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Such good questions to ask yourself.
Yes, absolutely. Self-reflection. So, Kiera, what motivated you to make a career shift from investing all that time and energy in a degree that was so specialized. You know, many people do the safe degree, you know, like bachelor's in business or a double major, just in case they can anchor on something else. I did economics because, you know, I was planning to be a lawyer, and here we are. But most people pick that kind of safe degree. I can get a job in business when I come back to Bermuda, that's it. But you chose something very niche and very specialized, and you focus on that. So tell us, what happened when you came back with your wonderful, shiny degree?
Yeah, so, and maybe even before the end, I get to the end of my 4-year degree, um, go all the way back to high school where I think I just chose my degree based on the wrong things, right? So, you know, you take the career test in high school. And I remember the one that sticks out, I can't remember exactly what the test was, but one of the questions, it was like, do you see yourself working behind a desk all day? And I remember I answered no to that, and not because I thought about it for so long, but because I was like, I don't want to sit behind a desk all day. Um, and anyway, I remember I got like a design kind of, it said, you know, why don't you start exploring things in design? So I was just like, okay. And as I started doing my research, this landscape architecture degree program at the University of Guelph came up, and the exclusivity of that degree, you know, it advertised only 60 get in of hundreds, almost thousands of applicants. And so that part, I like my competitive kind of nature came out, and I was like, well, I have to get into this. And then from that point, I just pursued it like relentlessly. Well, what do I have to do to get in? You know, what architecture firms do I have to speak to in Bermuda? Like, how do I, you know, how do I keep going down this very specific path? And so that's kind of how I chose it, for the wrong reasons. Yeah, so much advice now on what to do at that point. But anyway, I pursued that path, and then maybe halfway through, I kind of realized like my skills, what I'm good at, don't align here in this degree. I know the things I'm good at, and so that's kind of the place I started after the degree, when I kind of came to the realization, the scary realization, that I don't think my skills, like what I'm good at, are fully aligned with a career in architecture. Like I knew I liked the putting together design packages and presenting and communicating to clients, and like the technical parts, the attention to detail, you know, really good at that. But the design part, which is a huge part of architecture, the whimsy part, where you have to be creative and solve problems in that way, I knew I wasn't good at. And that's a huge part of design and architecture and landscape architecture. Um, and so that was the place I started, really, was that, and Malika said it as well, is really taking like a personal inventory of your skills. You know, what did you like about what you're doing? You know, I spent 4 years doing a degree program in architecture, and summers and Christmases at an architecture firm. So I had a really good idea of the things that I really liked. And then I went from there. And that summer, I remember after I graduated, I waited until after I graduated to tell my mom, who's on the call, I think. Um, and yeah, it was a big shock to her, right? You know, and I think that's something I would not warn, but let people on the call know as well, is that the people around you get so invested in what you're doing, right? Like you bring them along this journey, and you know they support and they invest and they try to, you know, give you opportunities, and then all of a sudden, you know, when that changes for them, even though I had thought about it for 2 years, um, it's hard for them to grasp as well. And even the advice of, you know, well, why didn't you just shift degree programs while you're in school? As you know, you can probably imagine, that degree was so specific. You know, first year I started with site engineering and design principles. It wasn't like a general kind of business or English. Um, so yeah, sorry, I'm probably going
No,
too far into
no.
it, but
Thank you
yeah.
so much for sharing that. And you're certainly sharing. I've known you pretty much your whole life, and it's just so wonderful to just sit back and to listen around how you were able to articulate what it is that you wanted, and was so courageous to say, I'm no longer going to play it safe and just go down that path that I'm on simply because I've already started on this path, but to almost do like a U-turn and figure out what is it that I really, really want and what do I need to do next, and being able to get the support of your family and understanding as well that your family is vested in your education, right? They invested in your education, so they're coming along for the ride. And so I just really want to say how proud I am that you were so courageous at such a young age to be able to do that, because many of us go on the wrong path, in quote, that looks right, and stay on it for many, many years before really having that sense of ownership around our career and then making those decisions. So you making that U-turn earlier on in your career really allowed you to start doing something that is more aligned and matched with your strengths, and that will allow you to create a more sustainable career where you not only will be successful, but you will also be fulfilled and happy. So thank you so much for sharing that. Victoria, so my question for you is, someone on this line says, listen, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to, do this career thing. I've been thinking about it for a long time. Like I was thinking about becoming an entrepreneur 10 years before I flipped the switch. So, I was kind of like a slow burn there. What are some of the strategies that you would recommend, maybe 2 or 3 strategies that you would recommend that work really well when you are looking at making that transition?
So I think, we've obviously talked about looking inside yourself and seeing what those skills are. But I think you've got to be real, right? Are you, well, I mean, let's take Kiara, right? She obviously proved that she had the intelligence to get a degree in architecture, which to me sounds pretty difficult and technical. But she's come up with, right, what are my skills? What am I good at? What do I enjoy doing? That kind of thing. So does that align with potentially what her dream position is? I think you have to be very real that, let's say you want to be a nurse or you want to go into medicine, but you don't like blood, right? Well, there's not really much point in going into the medical field. If if you don't like people, you've got a bad bedspread manner and you don't like blood. Maybe for, I'm in international business. I would actually say to Kiara, I'm way more creative than I am technical. So I do find some of the technical elements of my job more challenging, but I do like to overcome those challenges. But, are you technical or are you creative? Get to know who you are to know how that transition is going to be. And then I think you have to have an awful lot of patience. You have to know that this is not going to happen overnight. And I get people who come to me basically it's almost like they want me to find them a job. Well, I'm not going to find you a job. I'm going to help you with the tools to put in your toolbox to go and do that for yourself. But you've got to want it. And I think the biggest thing is aligning those skills, but also imagining yourself there. So LinkedIn is an absolutely amazing platform. I had a young man who the first words on his LinkedIn profile were pool attendant or beach attendant at the Reefs Hotel in Bermuda. Well, that's what you are. That's not what you want to be. So don't talk about that. Talk about customer service focused, young graduate or whatever, seeking to put skills to use in, the technology sector or the international business sector, and keep going. And I would say the big thing is don't give up. I mean, I know people who've taken a year and they've probably had gallons and gallons of coffee, wine, if they've met me, anything like that. But you just can't give up. The more people you speak to, the bigger your network, the more successful you'll be.
Thank you. You've said so many things. I'm going to try and do my very best, Victoria, in trying to summarize it in no particular order. I would say the first thing that you need to do when you are looking at a career shift, outside of really doing your homework and getting crystal clear about what it is that you want, right? If you don't know what you're aiming for, you're going to miss it every time. So know what it is that you want, is to understand that this is a process and it takes time. It takes time. So I really want you to take care of yourself. And I say this a lot to the clients that I work with. They may be excited the first 2 or 3 months. And then when things are not panning out, right, guys, when things are not panning out, the shoulder drops, the mood change, the energy level is low. And my number one tip is to make sure that you are taking care of yourself so you have that beautiful energy so that when you do get that call for that interview or that quick coffee chat or invited out to an event, that you have that nice energy so that people will remember you in a positive way. So it doesn't matter how perfect your CV is and all the experiences that you need to have, and you have all of those things. When people are looking at you, they are trying to imagine you working with them, right? And if you are perfect on paper, but not very pleasant to be around, guess who they're going to choose? Not you. Okay, so I really want you to focus on getting your energy, whatever you need to do. Go for a walk, go for a run, call a friend, call your parents, call your frenemies, whoever. Get your energy right so that when you get that opportunity, remember, you get that one chance that you can really hit it out the park. Take care of yourself. Networking. Victoria, you mentioned that, right? The more you're out talking to people that are in the space that you would like to be in, is the more you're gathering really good data about not just the job itself, but what salary should I be expecting coming into this particular job? If I'm transitioning from one industry to a completely other industry, what are the realistic expectations around finances? So I want to talk about that, Malika, in terms of a recruiter, in terms of how do you help to position individuals in terms of leveraging their skill sets and getting a realistic understanding of what is really involved when they make a transition. Sometimes you have to start over. Sometimes you have to start where it's not ideal. Can you give us some context around that?
Sure. Well, the word that you use, which I would also use, is transparency. We really try to help individuals understand what salary they can expect if they're transitioning into a new industry or a new field. That will likely mean that, you know, they're earning a little bit less in the beginning. But if they are going to pursue this as a career, they're going to invest their time in getting up to speed, being the absolute best that they can be in this role, then they can relatively, I don't want to use the word quickly, but they can progress from a kind of compensation standpoint at a pretty decent pace. But it does require some sacrifice in the beginning.
Agree. And you know, I will also add on to that as well, Malika, as people are looking at transitioning, that they really do their homework around salaries, like talk to the recruiter, talk to friends, people that maybe friends of friends that are in the space to get a really good gauge, because the last time I checked, living in Bermuda is very expensive. And
Yeah.
so making a career shift or any kind of change, the financial aspect has to be really thought through, because
It
that can
does.
create some incredible amount of stress if you haven't thought that through.
Yeah, and the good news is, just like how the climate has changed in terms of expecting people to be in the same job for years and years and years, and how that's transitioned to more openness to people moving every few years, there's also more openness to compensation conversations. So don't be afraid to ask questions about salary. It is a lot less taboo now than it was kind of a decade ago.
Thankfully. I'm always for, asking for more, and that first offer is just an offer. It's an invitation for you to negotiate. So the more you know about what you're looking for, the better you can negotiate the best financial package that will be aligned with what works for you.
Exactly. And it's important to also remember that industries do have some differences when it comes to salary ranges. So, in Bermuda, there's local business, there's international business, there's healthcare, there's retail, there's hospitality. All of those industries have varying ranges when it comes to compensation. So if you're transitioning from one industry into the next, you really need to understand what the general compensation differences are.
Absolutely. And I really wanted to raise that because that is a factor. That's a big factor. Okay. So, Kira, I have one question for you. And then Victoria, before I forget the question I'm going to ask you, so write this down because, it will fly out my head. I want you to answer the question, Why, when so many people come to you, they say something like, at least they do it to me, I want to change my career and work in the international business, and I want to be an underwriter and make a lot of money. Okay, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to put
So do
3
I.
dots there. Okay, and then we'll fill the gap in. So Kiara, having moved from one discipline to another discipline, I'm interested in finding out what, if any, skill sets did you bring to the table at Orbis that was directly related to your area of study?
Yeah. So transferable skills, that's something that I didn't know about until I was looking to change careers. And I think that was the biggest kind of like, what, aha moment then, because I was under the impression that I had to get a new bachelor's degree or go get an MBA. That's kind of the route I was taking. Like I remember going to Bermuda College and, I was like, all right, I think I'm going to enroll in the business degree like that. That's what I thought I had to do, until transferable skills, this idea of, the skills are the things you learn in one degree or one job, you can transfer to another job. So things, like attention to detail, learning how to do technical drawings and budgets, all of those things I did in architecture, those kind of skills I use in my job now, especially in compliance, where, it's about comprehension and attention to detail and, reviewing regulatory documents, picking out things that are important there and applying them, to the firm here. Those are important. And I think don't limit yourself to, or to have these very kind of hard skills related to architecture. At least it was for me. It was like, what are the underlying things, like through the kind of site engineering and site drawings, like that very specific part. What things did I learn doing those things? I learned that, I work well in groups. I learned that I really like the communication and the client presentations. What does that translate to at Orbis? Well, now I help lead the internship program and speak about the internship program. That communication, the, interviewing students, that comes directly from what I learned in my degree. So yeah, be open-minded to the things you've learned in one discipline that you can transfer to another.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And I really wanted Kiara to articulate that, because so many times we believe that, our hard skills are our indicator of whether or not we're going to be able to transfer or to leverage those into other areas or not. And it may prevent us from really considering other opportunities. So you mentioned some wonderful soft skills, and I was reading an article yesterday about the top skills for 2024 and beyond. First one was adaptability, data analytics, being able to understand data and to understand the analytical implications of that. Curiosity and problem solving came up, collaboration. So these are the transferable skill sets that you need to look for when you're having that conversation around selling yourself and highlighting why you are the best candidate for that particular position. Now, Victoria, you had a geography degree, right, Victoria? Right?
Yes.
And now you're a VP of reinsurance underwriting. Someone would look at that and thinking, how did that translate into that? A good friend of mine was a PE teacher and is in underwriting at the EVP level. So don't be so bogged down by the fact that I did a degree in an unrelated area. How am I going to use that? No. I want you to focus on what are the skill sets that I have that I can leverage in a new space. What are your unique set of talent and your unique set of skills that will differentiate you from someone else? And it's interesting that I believe the thing that will differentiate you from others are the things that are different for you, i.e., you studied geography or you studied architecture. You didn't do a traditional business degree. You didn't play it safe. You did fine arts. You did a creative degree. You bring a lot of those wonderful power skills into an organization that will allow you to bring a difference, right? And contribute at a higher and more nuanced level. So for anyone that's on this call that has a degree that they think doesn't matter, it does matter. Victoria, so my question, jumping into
Can I
IB.
just add
Yes,
something
please.
to the degree? I think
Yes.
a lot of roles nowadays, you don't even need the degree. So if you're sitting there and you're
Good
thinking,
point.
oh my goodness, I don't even have a geography degree, let alone an economics or business degree, it doesn't matter. I mean, I worked with a girl who moved to Bermuda as a nanny. She then became a personal trainer and she's now an underwriting assistant. So, you know, she's got absolutely no educational background, but it just so happened in the supermarket in Lindo's parking lot on a Wednesday, she
Marketing,
met a guy,
networking.
she used to personal train, and he was looking to hire someone. So, I mean,
There you
that's
go.
obviously an element of luck, but she did not have, you know, the traditional degree. And I think I know especially some of the big four and some of the big reinsurance companies here are now not, they're saying preferred but not required for that
Mhm.
bachelor's degree.
Great.
And
So
because
that
you can
open-
do exams
I
once you're
love
in.
that. I love that because it opens up the opportunity to hire just this diverse talent that brings, you know, a wealth of experience from different backgrounds, a different way of thinking, you know, instead of having this kind of group think going on, we're having people that are more creative. We're getting a lot more creatives in the space. I love having the creatives because they're always coming up with ideas and challenging new ways of doing business and more creative ways and ideas to meet the demands of the business and of their customers and clients. So I wish I could be 20 something again, starting out now. I think I would definitely do it differently.
And
So,
Lorene,
what's that?
here, I just wanted to add to what Victoria said as an
Yes.
example. You know, the skill sets that, you know, the individual that Victoria was speaking about
Mhm.
that are so important transitioning into any new role
Yes.
is your ability to have really good relationships with
Mhm.
new people. So your ability to communicate, your ability to connect with others, not just the people who are like you, but people who are different from you. That is really, really key when we look at people who transfer successfully.
Mhm.
And then the other area is critical thinking. You
Yes.
know, the ability to be a good critical thinker will allow you to transition across many different sectors, many different careers. So I would say those are two key areas that personal trainer, nanny, she probably demonstrated really well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, and I love Kira's point around teamwork, because that's another thing as well. You know, we are in a hybrid work environment that is normalized now. And so your ability to work well in a team and to collaborate well and to work with others that are different from you is one of those power skills that will separate you from somebody that may look academically way ahead of you. I would choose that person any day, right?
Yeah.
So don't hesitate to highlight those skill sets when you are putting together your CV and when you are also sitting down with an interviewer or with a recruiter. So Victoria, back to my question, I want to make a lot of money. And so I want to come into the IB and I want to start at 100,000.
Get real. So I'm just going to start. So Allied World Re, so Allied World Reinsurance is a small subset of Allied World, and we have 96 global employees across 6 offices. There are 14 underwriters. So that's just under 15% of an entire reinsurance company is actually an underwriter. So I think people have to be real with, you know, are you going to be that? You know, are you going to get there? You also, I think, you know, everyone hears of the underwriter, right? It's like, you know, when you go into primary school, what do you want to be? They all want to be firefighters or policemen or doctors because those are the people they see. I think the perception, especially in Bermuda, is, oh, the underwriters make the money. Well, let me tell you, if you were, well, you'd have to have started studying quite young and really like math, but an actuary actually earns more than an underwriter, I think. Malika could probably confirm that. But I wouldn't suggest you start going into actuarial now because there's about 10 exams and it probably takes about 10 years. But anyway, so, you know, so yes, it's underwriting, but there's claims, there's broking, there's cat modeling. And what I would say to those of you is don't fixate on becoming an underwriter, fixate on getting into international business, right? If you find the company that you like the culture of, you like people there, you know, and you've got a claims position, do the job, be the best you can be, you know, and then see if you can transition laterally. Can you move across with the skills that you have? Getting your foot in the door is more important, I think, in a lot of cases than actually getting that dream job, because, you know, I mean, there's a lot of competition out there. I think to Malika's point, it's working out what are your skill sets. So you want to be an underwriter. Guess what? You've got to be able to talk to people. You've not only got to be able to talk to your clients and brokers, but you've got to be able to talk internally to management, your claims people, your cat modeling teams. So, you know, are you the kind of person that will pick up the phone? You know, that's alongside the technical skills and the, you know, problem solving, critical thinking. I would say, and there's a lot of, and this speaks to most careers, you can do industry designations. So there was actually a question about industry designations versus more soft skill training. I think if you're coming in completely blind into international business or, you know, something like that, where there's more technical knowledge, it will serve you well to show that you're interested and you're committed by taking some of the exams. A lot of them are free on some of the websites. And then, you know, if you're coming in, you know, my personal trainer who'd probably never sat at a computer, use things like LinkedIn Learning, learn how to use Excel, learn how to use the Microsoft suite of products. Those kind of things are going to build you up. And so you're more likely to become that underwriter. But don't have underwriter as your main goal, because I think you could well be seriously put off your journey, because it doesn't happen for everyone.
Thank you. And I'm sure for Malika as a recruiter, you probably get people sitting in front of you saying, oh, I want to be an underwriter. And, you know, my experience has been a lot of them don't even know what an underwriter is. So
Yeah.
there's an education that has to go in there. Now, nothing is wrong with wanting to have a job or develop, have a career that pays very well. We all want that. Nobody wants to work for peanuts. But just be mindful that when your passion is aligned with your skill set, that's the secret sauce to having that sustainable career. You can be in a job that is high paying and it's not your passion, it is not playing to your strength. And every day it's like going, you know, swimming upstream. That's what it feels like. It's like you're swimming upstream and it's just like work, labor, grit. And so you have that tendency to even go into what I call this slow burnout over time, where you wake up one day, probably in the middle of your career, and you decide, I really hate my job. I finally decided I hate my job. And then you're trying to unravel and trying to reposition yourself. No, that doesn't mean that you can't make those changes at that time. But I'm hoping that with this conversation, some bells might be going off around, you know, I need to be honest with myself. Where do I want to be? All these kinds of prompts. Malika, when we were doing the prep, we talked a little bit about career trajectory, right? Career, you know, like Kira is at the beginning of her career, and you know, we're all at different parts of our journey in our career. Is it the traditional kind of ladder going up, or what do you see typically in terms of how people develop their career over time?
Yeah, so what we've seen over the last few years is that it's no longer a linear ascent from a career perspective, but so it's not climbing the corporate ladder, so to speak, but it's more like rock climbing. You know, when you see those rock climbing walls, in order to get to the top, you usually have to kind of reach over that side, go up a little bit, and then maybe you kind of shift to the left and you make a little lateral move. That is really common. And oftentimes you are really building upon your skill sets and really honing in and strengthening your superpower so that as you navigate through your career, you're usually a much more informed and kind of more valuable person in your industry because you've had those lateral moves and not the quick ascent.
I absolutely appreciate that. And that has been my experience. So my career is more like a lattice, right? It's like, you know, and then it's driven by what's happening in your life. So I remember starting out my career more like the traditional ladder kind of step up. And then there came a time when I was building my family, you know, having my boys, 3 kids and a husband and a dog, and life got very complicated. And so I had to decide, what is my next best career move that will set me up in a way that it still position me to keep moving in my career and building new sets of skills and also challenging myself to learn something new. So that meant no longer going forward, but moving almost to the side, right? But moving to the side strategically, because the new skills that I'm learning is positioning me so that when I had that little break, when the kids started to grow and become a little bit more independent, guess what? I could now go for that next opportunity that is above me. So be mindful as you're building your career and you're trying to get that work-life integration happening, that your career will take swings. Sometimes you swing to the side, sometimes you swing up.
Is this the one you just sent me, or is there another one?
No, the one I just sent you.
Sometimes you have to swing to the left or swing to the right, move up in your career, or sometimes the best move is to stay still. And by staying still, I'm saying staying still in that position, but not staying still in terms of developing yourself. So to Victoria's point, there are so many courses now, thanks to the pandemic, that's on online. You can literally learn so much while you are standing still. Yeah, while you're standing still, focusing on developing those skill sets. Maybe you want to be an expert at Excel spreadsheets and all these different types of tools. You can learn that on your own time and harness those and develop that. You may be a stay-at-home mom. You may be working part-time, okay? All of these and LinkedIn Learning, it's free. So go for it. I'm like, that's like the best thing ever. I do it. I make a list of some of the stuff that I want to focus on for this year. And I go in and I find the webinars and I find the classes and I enrolled in them. And I make sure that I am positioning myself with a new set of skills so that I can be competitive, so that I can set myself apart, so that I can make a business case as to why someone should hire me and not someone else.
You know,
Right?
Lorene,
Yes.
another thing that I just thought of is that in addition to all of those things you're mentioning, self-awareness is really, really key. I mean, you can want to be an underwriter, but if you are feeling absolutely terrified at the thought of having a conversation with a stranger, then you need a reality check and you need to reassess what you do well.
We send them to Victoria, Malika. We just said, Victoria.
Yeah.
I'm not a stranger anymore.
Yeah. So, it's important because you don't want to, especially, everybody needs to earn a living. You don't want to waste time chasing something that really is not going to fulfill you career-wise, nor is it leaning towards your strengths. So the sooner you get feedback on your superpowers, the sooner you kind of stress test what you're going for, the faster you'll get in the direction that you're going from a career satisfaction.
Yes. So go slow to go fast, right? So don't just get on the wheel of changing my career without slowing down and figuring out, like I said at the outset, what exactly do I want? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What culture of an organization am I looking for? I have had some good experiences. What was good about it that I like? Write that down. I've had some bad experiences. What was bad about that? Write that down. That's information that you now know so that when the opportunity comes, you're able to identify it faster and to say, yes, that's the kind of organization that I want to work for. And therefore, I'm going to position myself for that.
Yeah.
Kieran, you were going to say
Yeah,
something.
and just on that, so if you're in the position that I was in, where I was just out of university and maybe you have no real work experience, I have a little bit, but not too much. Something I learned in that period was informational interviews, right? So I was just young, looking for what to do. They're a great tool if you're looking to explore a new career path. So, I mean, it's just as it is, as in the name. You can reach out to senior people or senior executives, or a senior chef if you're interested in being a chef. And you can ask them, hey, like, I'd like to learn a little bit more information about this job, about your history, your professional history, about your responsibilities, about your career trajectory. And you conduct a interview with them and you just ask them as much as you can to give you insight. And that's where I was like, I had no idea. And so that's the direction I took, was I just want to talk to anyone I can in any industry ever, to figure out what I want to do, because it's good if you have that kind of insight where you've had a long career and you kind of know where you want to go and what you want to do. But if you're like me, I had no idea what direction I was going to go in after architecture. And so that was a really great way, and it's a great way to network too, because that person remembers you. And that's exactly what happened to me. That informational interview halfway switched and became an interview. And that's how I ended up at Orbis. And so don't be afraid to take that initiative too, just to figure out what it is and where you want to go.
Perfect.
Can I
Thank
just
you.
add quickly,
Yes,
Lorene, that,
Malika. Mhm.
you know, it's sometimes it's really difficult to think about kind of changing jobs because you obviously don't want your employer to know that you're seeking. But at the same time, it's really important to put into the universe the fact that you're interested in doing something else. So I would encourage people to seek out someone who they trust to start to have small conversations about doing something differently. You never know who that person knows that can set you up with a coffee, or obviously there's recruiters you can speak to very, very confidentially, but think about who you know that you trust and just have a quiet word. And it'll often be really, really revealing. That person will say, you know what? I've thought about that for so long. You really would be great at XYZ.
Absolutely.
And that gives you the
Absolutely.
confidence.
Yeah, that is a fantastic, that worked through my entire career. I tell people after a certain time, you should not be filling out applications for job. Sorry, Malika, I know you're a recruiting company, but you know, if you're doing this the right way, if you have great network and relationship, you should be able to tap into that. That's how I found pretty all my jobs have been through that, having these conversations. What I tell clients now that are hesitant around having the conversation, because Bermuda is a small place, and most, even if you work in London, which I did for many years, that's also small, is just to arrange something really casual and say, listen, I am exploring the possibility of how I can leverage my skill into a new area. What are your thoughts?
Yeah.
So it's not like they're like, oh, I'm looking for a job, whatever. And people are open to that. And like Malika said, they're like, oh, you'd be perfect for this. You know, I remember when I moved from underwriting to claims Victoria, I wasn't even looking for a job. I wasn't looking for a job. Okay. Somebody thought that I would be great in claims. And I'm thinking, why? When I did it, I was like, oh, this is fantastic. Same thing happened when I moved to this little startup called Allied World. I was not looking for a job. So my point is, you should be having these conversations. You should be seeding and nurturing your network so that you're having this timely information being passed on, because the person that may offer you the job may not be somebody you know. It could be somebody you know who knows somebody you don't know. That's how it works in the real world. Okay, so someone asked a question about what courses to do on LinkedIn. And well, it depends on what your needs are. So figure out what your needs are. You go on LinkedIn Learning, and you know they have from Excel to how to master Excel spreadsheet, communication, presentation skills, negotiation skills. It goes on and on and on and on. So it's just a long list. So you just, once you're on, and I'm assuming most people on this is on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, there's your homework. Your homework is to get on LinkedIn, right?
You know what?
Do we have to
Lorene,
say that?
yeah,
Please get
well,
on LinkedIn.
listen, I was going to say, we can't underestimate the power of LinkedIn. Right now, whether you're kind of a hiring manager looking for people, whether you're a recruiter, everybody is using the power of LinkedIn to have these discreet conversations about new people to join their firm. So if you don't have LinkedIn, run run and set up your LinkedIn profile after this.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because that's where you'll find us as well. For those that want to reach out to any one of us, you can get us on LinkedIn. And it's just a wonderful career platform. I said at the outset about really becoming the CEO of your career, right? We are here to help, and hopefully we've given you some information that will be supportive of you, that will allow you to be not just more informed, but also take that information and become more courageous in taking that next step that is right for you. So I really want to encourage you to get on LinkedIn, sign up, and start to connect with others that are in, to Kiara's point about informational interview. Where are you going to find them? You can go on LinkedIn, you can do a search, and you can find out, oh, and in Bermuda, I'll mention in Bermuda, there's so many people that you know, but you don't know what they actually do for a living. Okay, two different things, because you know someone doesn't mean you really know them. So sometimes your network could be a family member, it could be your neighbor. Okay, it could be somebody you went to school with. Okay, you want to tap into those relationships. All right.
Sorry, Lorene, there was just a quick
Yes.
thing in the chat about what's the if you're between positions, what's the best way to present yourself?
Yes,
And I was
thank
going
you.
to end with this, but I think you want to focus on your new career direction, right? So all of LinkedIn is about, you can basically be searched. So the words that you put in your LinkedIn profile, whether it's in your headline, your summary, or your experience, needs to project where you want to be. So we're not looking about what your responsibilities are as the beach attendant at the reefs. What are your accomplishments? You know, how have you actually met those and make them relevant, right? So just think about those new area skills that you've already focused in your career to date.
And in addition to that, Victoria, there is a field in LinkedIn that you can actually state, it's a little button. You can state that you're open to opportunities. That way, anybody who subscribes to LinkedIn has access to the fact that you are open to looking for new jobs and new career.
But that can
Excellent.
be seen by others.
No, it cannot be seen
can't?
by
I was gonna
anybody
say, yes,
unless,
that's
yeah.
important, right?
So for example, ourselves as a recruitment firm, we know who is interested in talking to us because they've set their LinkedIn profile to open to opportunities, and nobody else can see that unless you subscribe to the back end of LinkedIn.
Okay.
Great,
Good
thank
to know.
you, thank you. So we've just run a poll. Can you guys see the poll that I'm sharing? Let's see. Can you see that? Yep, okay. So it confirms that our time together has been successful. All right, so remember the reflection we had at the beginning? I told you I was gonna come back to it. So I want you to have a look at that. And this is personal to you. I want you to have a look at that and see, did you hit it? Did you miss it? If you did hit it, and this session was supportive of that, I want you to just type yes, Y in the chat. Just type the letter Y. If what you were looking for, you achieved it during this session. We're so happy that you have been here with us. We are really excited about the information that has been shared with you, with each one of us that really have taken the time out of our schedule to give you an hour of our time. And I just hope that as you step away, that you step away a little bit more informed, a little bit more confident, a little bit more competent, and most of all, a little bit more courageous around being able to make that transition, to make that shift that's going to be better aligned with where you want to be, where you want your career to be the CEO of your career, to be the one that's going to be the agent of the change that you want to see happen. So thank you to Malika, to Kiara, and to Victoria for making an hour go by so quickly. And hopefully I've seen some notes in the chat that people are taking notes, that they were taking notes. This session is recorded and it will be uploaded on YouTube so that if you want to share it with maybe a friend or a colleague or a neighbor or someone that you think could really use this information, we'll be really happy if you can do that and extend that generosity to them. But thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being on the huddle. And thank you guys for making this a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun. And I think we have accomplished what it is that we set out, which is to help our participants understand how to shift their career with confidence. Have a good afternoon. Have a good day wherever you are in the world. Take care.